What's going on, you guys in Raider Nation? I hope the lighting is okay. I'm just going to do my annual State of the Oakland Raiders address, almost around the same time that the new president has to do. Coincidentally, it's not the same title for a new president in the same calendar year, but he'll do a speech. I'm going to talk about the Raiders, just to end the year. Really, it was magical. All right, this was a magical season where the Raiders were a year ahead of schedule. I said it before, a lot of analysts thought that the Raiders were probably 2 years away from really doing something. They thought you're going to take some steps, they're going to take a couple growing pains under Derek Carr in year 3. Thought, okay, Derek Carr's 4th year was going to be the year they were going to make some noise. They won 12 games, and I didn't see them doing that. I thought, everything has to go right in order to do that, and really every close game went the Raiders' way. It's weird to say that. All 4 losses, well, I guess 5 if you count the playoffs, but all 5 losses were blowouts. They really were dominated in one way or another during the game. And I know you'd say it's one possession, but those games were all dominated. They were dominated defensively or offensively in one of those games. The Chiefs and the Falcons games. So, anyways, the Raiders, I don't know if they can match that kind of a record next year when we think about it. It's just too many things went right. They made all the close plays when it mattered. They made the big plays, the big defensive stops. I mean, that game in Baltimore was amazing. The fact that they had to get a 4-down stop on the road in Baltimore, a place they hadn't won in their history since the Colts days when they were there. I mean, I don't think they beat the Ravens in their own house in this era. So that was a nice win. A couple other really good wins. I mean, that Panthers one, that turnaround where Carr gets hurt, he leaves the game, and then he comes back, and then somehow the defense just magically shows up when Carr's back. That just tells you how valuable Carr is, and really was the MVP of this team. This team just looked a lot better in terms of confidence going out there. And Carr himself said he didn't want to be a young quarterback. He wanted to be that guy to take the next step, and I think he showed it. For the most part, he made a lot of good throws. I mean, if I want to nitpick, he made a couple throws to get the flag. I don't know how often you're going to get flags in your favor, but he did get that a lot this year. But yeah, Khalil Mack established himself once again on the defensive end. Bruce Irvin proved to be a pretty good signing. Osamele was a very good signing. And then even the year before, Rodney Hudson, pretty good signing. The offensive line was one of the best in the league. You could make a very good argument for that. So that means Derek Carr would feed off of it. Also, the running back situation becomes interesting because Latavius Murray enters a contract. This was a contract year for Murray, and I could see where they just let him walk because he made some plays and some decisions that were questionable. I think they could get an upgrade over that. They can draft someone or sign someone that they feel is better. And then now it becomes the other big question is, how much is Derek Carr going to make? How much is Khalil Mack going to make? Those 2 guys are eligible for an extension. I think both of them will get done. I probably will not make a video when they're extended. I just don't want Derek Carr to be the number 1 paid quarterback in the league. I could see that happen. Contracts are stupid, especially for a quarterback. You look at the market; it's really silly. Like Tony Romo made some pretty nice money for not playing much. Joe Flacco has made some pretty good money in the last few years thanks to that Super Bowl title. It's ridiculous. Quarterbacks are making silly money. Brock Osweiler, that's the other guy, making a lot of money, not doing much. It's bad. So I hope he's not the number 1 paid quarterback, but if it is, it's not my money. I won't. But the cap space and all that becomes the other question, the domino effect. Who becomes a cap casualty in the future? It may not happen this year. I think the Raiders' cap space will be all right. But in the future, when they got to extend guys and they got to make decisions, does Amari Cooper get extended when he's eventually a free agent a couple of years from now? Is there room for other guys? I mean, Bruce Irvin, Osamele, you wonder who's going to be a cap casualty. They're going to have to clear cap space to sign some other guys and stay on the team. That's just how sports works. You look at the Seattle Seahawks. Obviously, they had to let guys walk. Some guys were kept, some guys were not. The Baltimore Ravens, the 2012 Ravens, had to get rid of players for almost nothing because they were in a cap's mess when they extended Joe Flacco's contract. So that's the one thing about having success, is that you've built some good players, and now some of them are going to walk, or some of them are going to have to get cut. That's going to be the fun adventure, is playing the guessing game. What I believe, though, is that Khalil Mack and Derek Carr are going to stay. I firmly believe that. I'm not sure about the whole coaching situation. I believe Del Rio was going to stay. Del Rio's done a pretty good job at being bold at the right time versus not being bold. I know there's criticism of Musgrave, and I get it. If they hire a new guy, if there is a new offensive coordinator, I just hope he doesn't completely change the system. That will ruin Carr if you completely change your system. It's got to be similar. It's got to be plays that he knows. Maybe you just have a guy that runs a similar playbook and just is a better play caller. That's what you hope for at this point. The defense took some steps forward in the second half. I mean, they showed in bunches that they can play well at times. They just can't play for a full game, and that's where the Raiders got to make some upgrades. Mainly the secondary, but you could always use a middle linebacker. I mean, that was a mess. Ben Heaney was out early in the year, and I thought this season was going to hinge on him, and he gets hurt early in the year. Perry Riley is average. Nothing really to hang our heads about there. So that's an average player. Defensive line looks pretty good for the long run, but you can always upgrade. They're going to need to address the defense this offseason, because it was not good enough. It was not championship caliber quality. You look at the AFC. There was only one team that mattered, and that was the Patriots. With all apologies, that guy, that San Mateo quarterback who wears number 12 would have lit us up if we played them in a playoff game. I don't think the Raiders can play this high-scoring affair against that team, and that guy in a hoodie would probably beat the Raiders again. So, it is what it is. There were still some flaws, but as I said, the team was a year ahead of schedule. Now they just got to learn to take care of business. You got to beat an opponent and blow them out, and beat them on all phases, because they were winning and barely winning a lot of these games. I want to see wins like where they beat the Broncos. That game, it was 30-20, but that was a blowout. They destroyed the Broncos on all aspects in that game, and I want to see those type of wins. I don't want to see these games where they're going to pull it out the very fourth quarter, and sometimes they get a break or they get one big play from Khalil Mack or Bruce Irvin. They got to be able to take that next step, put themselves in contender status potentially. So it's very interesting. They were a good team. They're an above-average team, but I think they overachieved with their record. I still think there's too many flaws in the defense to say they were great. But they were 12-4, and I know some of you are going to say that's all that matters, and fine. They were good at times when it counted. Because of that, they went 12-4. But there was still a lot of issues that need to be fixed. That a lot of people say the Raiders were not ready for the big stage, and I think that was the truth. There were some things they're probably not ready for. So you go forward, you move forward, and you hope that you can build off this season and build off really what we saw from the offense. I mean, I was still disappointed from guys like Amari Cooper and Michael Crabtree. I mean, they had drops in every game. The receivers really let Carr down a lot more than I thought they would. I thought it was going to be the other way around, but there were throws on target, and the receivers just made some plays that weren't enough. It was terrible. That's why I think Cooper, I mean, he's only in year 2 and all, but 2 years from now when he's a free agent, I just wonder if they'll pay him or not. He's got to show that he can be a consistent receiver, or else they're going to try to draft someone else. I was not where I was expecting him to be just this season. There were ups and downs on offense, and they played. It's amazing. They played terrible and they still win. That's what happened a lot. Like that Tampa Bay game, they played terrible. They still won. Houston, the win in Mexico, they didn't play well for 3 quarters, but they still won. There's that saying that you win some and you lose some. I don't want that where the lose some comes the following year, because that's what you're bound to do. When you play a bunch of close games, you're going to lose some down the line. You're going to be due to lose some. I think this team pretty much played like a 10-6 team, 9-7. They were good, they were above average, but they were not great like they were 12-4. I think just all the close games once again went their way. A lot of things there's still a lot of work to be done. And then there becomes the final question is, where are the Raiders playing? You all know that Mark Davis filed for relocation. We knew that was coming. He puts all his chips on Vegas. That's been well documented for more than a year. Everyone knows that he's been thinking about that. He tried to use San Antonio as leverage and all that. And I'll be disgusted if they move to Vegas. I will be. I'll still be a fan. I'll still be rooting for them, but I'm not going to call them Las Vegas Raiders. I won't. They're just going to still be called Raiders to me, and it'll be sad. It'll be very sad. Honestly, when I think about just the market, where is the Bay Area market value compared to the Vegas market? I think the Vegas TV market is in the 20s. Bay Area is a top 10 market. I just don't get that. You can talk about the stadium, fine, but the revenue in football is all about TV money. Okay, TV money trumps everything else. Ticket sales, merchandise. It's all about the TV money. That's where the owners make their money. That's where it counts. So I don't get the Vegas move as much. It doesn't make as much sense to me that they're going to have a team. You look at how many teams and players are going to go gambling in Vegas when they come in. I don't know how many owners want to see that. Want to see players get stupid and go gambling. You're going to be tempted when you make a trip out there. I know the hockey, the NHL has a Vegas team that's going to come next year and all that, but I personally don't get the revenue that it would make for the NFL compared to the Bay Area market. I also wonder, where does Mark Davis come up with that relocation fee? I mean, the Rams paying a nice money out of that. The Chargers just had to pay some money for that. Which, by the way, Los Angeles Chargers sounds really terrible. I mean, it's like they spelled L-O-S-S wrong, Chargers. So, I know you could bring up 1960, that's their only history in Los Angeles, but the Chargers are probably the 27th most liked team in Los Angeles. I guarantee that. They've lost more fans than gained fans. I mean, yeah, when they're good again someday, they'll pick up some fair weather fans. That's the way a lot of LA can be. If you're good, they'll make it big. But if you're not good, they'll pretend you don't exist. Okay? There's a reason why the Angels right now, I know they're not in Los Angeles and Orange County, but the Angels, we almost pretend they don't exist because, with the exception of Mike Trout, they're so terrible right now. Chargers, the only teams that are going to show up to that stadium in Carson, that I think it's the MLS stadium, Raider fans are going to pack the house, and any other team that's got a big fan base. That's what it'll be for. LA is such a hub. There's so many teams, fans of so many teams down there that it's a hub. And nobody cares, or almost no one cares about the Chargers down there. At least not north of San Diego. At least in San Diego, as bad as the stadium was, they had an identity. San Diego, we can make fun of them as a fair weather town, but at least it made sense. San Diego was its own market, its own entity, and really, just terrible call by the Spanos ownerships and greed. I mean, I know they're going to pay $1 to rent the new stadium that the Rams are going to put out, so really, they're just squatting. They're going to just mooch greed, money, and all that, and then they try to get taxpayers to pay for their stadium. That's awful. Corporate greed is awful. And right now we could be seeing that with Mark Davis. To me, that vote in Vegas is up to the owners. It's up to Jerry Jones. If Jerry Jones likes Vegas, he'll sway all the other voters to vote with him and say he wants Vegas. But if he doesn't, he'll go opposite. I mean, I personally hope that the owners see it, that Mark Davis is just getting his own way because of he inherited his father. But I hope that doesn't happen. I really just hope that Mark can not get his way. Really, any Oakland Raiders fans have not liked Mark, and I'm one of them. We know that this has been his vision, is to get out of Oakland, and he hasn't made any commitment whatsoever. But if there's a reject again, like the Carson plan was rejected, maybe he could be forced to sell the team. I don't know, but I just hope the owners, 9 of them, can say they don't want to go to Vegas. I just don't like the idea of playing out there when the TV revenues are there, and really the history is mostly in Oakland. We look at, Los Angeles would have made sense. I agree there. Los Angeles Raiders would have made some sense with their history, but Vegas, I just don't see Vegas as an NFL market outside of just being a hub for tourist attractions and all that. So I'll be sad. I'll be a fan of them no matter what. I'll still be talking about the Raiders, but I am barely going to use the word Vegas in my talk if that happens. I'll be very So the next video I make could probably be about the whole owners vote when that happens in a few months. That's probably my next video in terms of the Raiders talk. Uh, we'll see what happens down the line, but I will talk, of course, about the Super Bowl. We have 2 teams already in. I'll talk about that when the time comes, and yeah, I'll talk about the whole owners meetings when that vote eventually comes. I mean, the Rams are back in LA, but you looked at how the attendance was as they were doing terrible, and once again, we pretend that they don't exist. Almost. The media doesn't, sure. They're pretty forgettable right now, but at least they have history in LA, and they'll have a fan base. Chargers, they're not going to have that. Nobody's going to care about them. It'll be about the opposing team coming to that Carson Stadium when the Chargers are playing them. So we'll see what happens. Let me know what you all think about the Raiders, the moving, the team, anything else that may have been missing. But this is the end of the season. I mean, yeah, once again, I'm still going through terrible times. That's why I took time to make this video. But we'll see what happens. Go Raiders. Let me know what you all think.